Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lazarus Expedition, Episode 8's Director's Commentary. We're here to talk about what went down in this session. And maybe turn it to 1080. There we go. Okay, so the story so far. Our party has arrived in Arcadia. They're here to get the Scroll of Resurrection to bring back good King Arnold because he's a good king. And the world around where they're from was shit before he arrived. And he's made it a better place. And then he got ganked, got assassinated. He was murdered. And the thinking is, in his absence, the world will go back to shit. And all the terrible systems that used to be in place that you can see here in Arcadia will come back into place over there. So, party's here to get this scroll. They've been wandering around. They've met some heroes. They've met some villains. And just as they were getting to the city they needed so they could head off to the north in order to go to the Great Pyramid and get the Scroll of Resurrection, what did they do? Well, they found a bad guy that they couldn't let live. Even if it meant they had to abandon their plan, flee the city, leave their wares behind, and just head for the hills, so to speak. They did it. And they killed the bad guy, who was a bad guy. Now the party is kind of off in an unknown direction. They're headed to a town called Scalesvale. They don't really know anything about it. They've got their cart and supplies with them. Some of them. But they don't really have a direction. There's the great river, and they need to get across it. And it's big. It's way too big to possibly swim, and you could never get your gear across it and yourself, right? It would never happen. It's also got crocodiles and probably hippo. It's just, you can't cross the river without a boat. And you can't get a boat except at these towns. And they're kicked out of the last town. And I guess they could go all the way back to Abelar and cross and then walk up the other side of the river, but they couldn't get any supply. It'd be a nightmare. So they're on their way to Scalesvale. And we're going to see all that happens. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lazarus Expedition. We have an excellent game for you today. All of our players are here on time. They've already finished all of their food beforehand, and everything is going to go great.
That was a bit nastily specific, wasn't it?
That's mean.
All right, Boo, don't take anything personally.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. What were you? All right, we're gonna skip ahead. We're gonna skip ahead through the banter. The banter's good, but we don't need it.
And
all right, we're also gonna skip ahead through their recaps. This arcane shot bursting arrow that you see right here in the middle of the screen, don't worry about it. It's nothing. That was just me testing out some characters beforehand. Usually when I build character sheets, just build them in the game. I could build them in a different instance and then import them. I don't. I build them in the same instance and then I'll test them out, to make sure all the macros are working and everything. And then I will usually spam 3d6 or 1d20 100,000 times just to fill up the chat log with junk rolls. And this time I didn't. And there was some character sheet that I was working on for some creature or monster that has some sort of arcane shot. Right, actually I see it right here. And honestly, I don't remember what it was. Why? I made this character and I have no idea why. I don't know. Sometimes you make things and then you don't end up using them. So don't worry about it. Scalesvale, you had asked Plax, I believe, if they knew anything about Scalesvale. And Plax was sort of like, well, I worked out of these other places. We never sailed north. I've never been here. If there's anything else you want to ask, if there's any other preparations you want to make, now's the time. You did spend 5 days traveling here, plus an extra day of just chilling on the road waiting for Plax. But we're going to skip ahead. Yeah, Vasher, I think, is down HP. No, you'll notice. The only one down? Pay attention for just a moment to the music.
I got healed to full.
Okay.
Yes, I spent all my lay on hands on him.
Cool. So Vasher, why don't you roll us some hit dice to recover, because you're at 20 out of 31. Right, it's some nice chill. You're walking alongside the river. Things are going well. Not a problem. We're bringing everyone into the session. We're using some light music. And they've just had like a pretty easy 5-day journey. They nat 20'd their encounter checks, which means none. In this instance, sometimes it means other things. And so we're starting off with some good vibes, which is how the rest of the session will go.
43 HP?
Your character
Wait,
sheet
look at your
says
character
31.
My character sheet says 40. Wait, what is going on?
Oh, no, it does say 43. Why does your... Okay, your tokens say they do that.
Ooh.
The character sheet was.
We're going to skip ahead. Roll 20
Level
issues.
4?
4. Got our resources. I think we're down on food. You had gotten just...
So the stallion, you mean?
I think I'm definitely me and Storm.
Name that I think we've all come together and agreed on.
Right. So the
Nick,
party's trying to figure out what they're going to name themselves.
Yeah. Our name is the Scions of the Storm.
Bad name. They can't be Roy and the Waystars
Stallions of
anymore.
The stallion, you mean?
They burned that name.
I think I'm definitely me and Storm. Alternatively,
There was
Right,
one
it's
with
gonna be
stallions.
on
the
the
stars
storm.
of the storm.
Stars of the Storm.
I thought it was the way of the horse.
This is bad.
No one else.
There was
These
a
are bad
Nope.
names. We are skipping ahead. Their
Storms
team
are,
name is
like, throw ourselves
bad.
above horses.
Do you say that out loud?
No, it doesn't need.
We're arrived at the town. We've changed the music up a little bit. It's now town music. I think it's Oasis Town or something like that. Oasis City.
Cassian gives some awkward glances around, and we keep marching.
Right.
Oh, can I just ask you a quick question, mate? Because I've been racked with guilt this whole week. Did the artist that did your token, was he from the community?
No.
Oh, so we can shit on
No.
it.
Yeah, you can shit on it.
Oh my god! When I just saw it just before, it made me laugh so much. I've even posted a screenshot in chat. It just made me laugh. So
It's not that bad of a token.
I went with a new artist, and then I tried to give some direction, but I realized it seemed like their skill wasn't up to where I wanted it to be. But you can't really tell an artist just get good, get better. So I paid him, and I said it was fine. And you know what? Saber Die paid for it. I'm gonna fucking use it.
it is fine. Yeah.
It's a fine token.
Okay,
all right?
sorry, I just had to mention it. Let's carry on.
It's fine.
He gave you a huge bulge. I just want to point that out.
We're definitely going to skip through the bulge conversation and the zoom ins and you way back when,
Oh.
just outside of
Oh.
Ablar. I don't know. Maybe
Can I
they all
do
look a
a-
lot alike.
Can I do a check to see if I remember him?
Insight. Give me just a charisma check.
Not my best. Just a flat charisma check, yeah?
Yeah. Oh my god. It's not the guy from before. But looking at him, he's armed just the same. He's got that same style of clothing.
Maybe it's his brother.
Yeah, something like that.
How
you
many are
get
we
these-
talking here?
Well, there's a couple of tents set up, and there's maybe 6 bandits on each side hanging out, and then like there could be people in the tents, but it's kind of, it's the nice part of the afternoon. So we're trying to set a scene. The party's walking in, they're coming to a new city, there's bandits outside the gates, and the party's looking at it, and I'm being a little... the music, plus the fact that they're right outside the gates, plus the map that they're seeing but you're not seeing, and the description of the bandits. I'm trying to telegraph to them that, like, the bandits outside these gates are not a threat to you. Yeah, you see, like, 6, and there could be more inside, but it's a nice day, and, like, maybe they're not inside, but this isn't the bandits. Yeah, there's 6 of them right there, and they're looking at you. The way that I'm describing these bandits, the body language and the intonations I'm using are trying to downplay the threat of these creatures, because they're non-threatening, and we don't need to spend a lot of time on them. I just want to let the party know that there's bandits outside the gates. It's an important story element, because in this city lives Magna, Queen of Bandits. And her deal is she's not like we call her Magna Queen of Bandits, but really, like, you've got all these independent bandit gangs, and she goes around and taxes the bandits. She's like the bandit queen in that they all have to pay her money and tribute, or she stops them from banditing. She doesn't organize them and send them out, but she sort of sits back and says, I'm in charge of all the bandits. If you want a bandit, you owe me money. Otherwise, I'm going to get you. And so everyone just kicks up money to Magna, Queen of Bandits. And when she hears about someone who hasn't kicked up money recently, and she's got her ways, she promptly deals with them and makes an example of them. And so we're kind of setting up like there's bandits here, and when they go out another exit, there's bandits there. When they go out another exit, there's bandits there. There's bandits all over the place, and they're sort of chill here. I'm trying to sort of gently begin to set the scene that this is bandit country, where the sun's low in the sky, the UV index is pretty low as well. You know, you're not going to get sunburned out here, and
I'll call out.
there's a bit of a cool breeze coming off the river.
I might have missed the setup. Is this like outside the Scalesvale?
Yeah. There's the city walls and the gate that you're about to go into, or you're heading towards, and there's these 2 bandit camps. You're thinking they're bandit camps on either side, and there's been some like houses nearby, and there's a little bit of farmland on either side of the road, and there's one other person who's just standing in front of the open gates. That's actually an important thing. I know I kind of pass it off as like there's just another person there, but I'm calling this out because we're about to meet them and talk to them, and they're going to be a big deal. And so as we're setting the scene, I'm trying to remember not to forget the person who we're about to speak to, but we don't talk about them in great detail because we're answering other questions now with some stuff in hand. Looking like they're...
Does it look like the bandits are manning the walls, or does it look like they're just like
just camped outside the gate? No, they're leaving people alone. They're just chilling on either side of the gate. But
we're not gonna have any trouble here, fellas, are we?
A couple of people look up in curiosity at you, and then kind of go back to what they were doing.
You're making it worse, Cassian. Just keep your mouth shut.
Don't talk to me like that, boy.
You're not old enough for a slap on the arse, mate.
Character's so much older than him.
Not
Roy gives him like an awkward like wave.
That's
wave
to mingle
back?
with the bandits.
So, as we're walking in, I say to Plax and the party.
Before you get to walk in, actually, you might be turning to Plax to say something as you're like walking towards the gates. When that person that's standing just before the gates with some things in their hands approaches you and proactively tries to sell you something you might want. Now, we're going to have an interaction here with this NPC. And the NPC is here for one very specific reason, which is to bring the party to Julia Farseer. But that's not their first interaction. Their first interaction with the PCs is trying to sell them a map. Actually, 2 maps. Actually, multiple maps. And what's going on here is I am trying to illustrate one of these behind-the-scenes mechanics. One of these behind-the-scenes mechanics that doesn't really matter, and the party might pick up on, but probably not. But it's an important detail that we shouldn't skip, just in case it does become relevant. And that is that this person who's doing this work for Julia Farseer also has a regular job. They're a cartographer. They make maps and they sell maps. And they're also working for Julia, but they're still primarily a cartographer. And so we're talking a little bit here about how Julia Farseer works with people, how she has folks to do things for her, and maybe gathers information or has people act as emissaries, but these aren't like full-time staff. This person that the party's about to run into, cartographer, that's their bread and butter, that's what they normally do. But in this particular situation, they're being called upon, because Julia is their patron, to do a favor for her and to get the party in here and get the party to her house. Now, I don't really think the party's ever going to look into this detail. I don't think they're ever going to go, how does Julia's situation work? How do the people who work for her behave? That probably doesn't really matter. But for the concept of the character and how the power structure is laid out in this town, it is somewhat relevant, somewhat important that Julia doesn't just have a large staff of people to do whatever it is that she wants all the time, and that she can just like deploy left, right, and center to do anything. Yeah, and so that's why we have the person saying this first. Maps, everybody. You look like wayfarers. You might want a map. Wayfarers. This person knows that they're the Waystars. We're getting a little bit of telegraphing here. Maybe 2. I have a map of the region of the whole Great Desert, which I can sell you for 5 gold. I have a map of Scalesvale. I can sell you for 10 gold. You look
Let
like.
me see these maps. Just open
Catch
it
first.
up and show me.
Okay. They'll open and hold it from a distance.
Does it look like a regular map? Can you show me
Yeah.
what the map looks like?
Yeah.
See, guys, if he shows us the map, it's safe because it's a real map.
I would like to compare 2 of the maps of the region.
Ooh.
I mean, he just opens and unfurls one real quick for you. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
Roll20
But I
Maps
feel
loads
like
real
pretty rare
slowly.
right now, right?
Well, he's selling them for 5 gold, so that is not cheap.
Like 5 gold a night.
All right, to orient ourselves, the party is here now in Scalesvale. They started actually on the north side of Abelar, and then, wandered around in the desert, then went down to Abelar, then fought, what's her face? Flicker Red Scale, then sort of went up here, fought some bandits, went up some more, came into the hills to fight Drakthars. Little base, went back to the town, went out to the oasis, then almost died, then went back to the river, back to the town, and then went up a few more days, dropped off Dara somewhere over here, had that fight with the bandits at the town named Wululamabo. Over here, went to Bellwind, did all the Bellwind Drakstar stuff, and then rolled really well and just made the 5-day trip from Bellwind to Scalesvale. Now, if you do a little bit of measuring, if they did 5 days-ish, maybe 6 days from Bellwind to Scalesvale, but it took them like a month or 2 months to get from Abelar to Bellwind. And that just goes to show you like all of their short rests, all of their getting involved in local issues, just made it take a really long time to get up here. And then this was a nice little journey. Now, where they need to go is up this river into the Badlands. This right here is the Great River, and it goes this way. Up this is to the Badlands, and then Plax's home is up here, kind of where Jan's left shoulder is.
I'd stay at an inn. It's actually pretty cheap. Feels like.
I would say it's something that we could use, Cassian. Maybe even we could use too.
Yeah. If by looking at this map, I get a sense that this kind of tracks with like the journey that we've taken so far. It's not like some
Yeah.
This could be.
The map's
I'd say-
updated. Well, we best buy it then, because Neal's already put it on the overworld.
Just screenshot it real quick, guys.
5 gold leaves your pockets.
Yeah, okay. I think we spend the 5 gold.
Excellent.
That's fine.
Nickel and
Who's our money
dime
man
them
right now?
players.
Soy Waystar.
Yeah.
Sure.
Standing. Find anywhere else except for here. Except
Of your map.
ooh, skipping ahead. I think
I
someone
know what
DC'd, and
Likes of us.
we
Oh, yeah. Stealth for the campaign to
we're just gonna skip ahead because Mr. Moon DC'd and didn't come back right away. And we almost had to cancel the session. There was a problem, and the internet went out, and the internet is the vehicle of esports and digital entertainment. And sometimes that vehicle gets a broken wheel, and sometimes then, the whole production comes to a running halt. Luckily, Mr. Moon was able to salvage the situation, I think, by leeching Wi-Fi off of his neighbor, or maybe he used his partner's cell phone as a hotspot. I can't remember what the issue was, but we barely managed to salvage the episode. It almost had to be scrapped, which would have been atrocious. That would have been terrible. Like 20 minutes in the game and already being canceled for the week would have been a problem. But Mr. Mooten found a way to fix his problems and powered through because he's a boss. Looking at this map, as you're looking at it, and you're talking about going into the city, the person offers to sell you a map of Scalesvale for 10 gold. And I think the party was turning it down when the person in question, Big Jim, by the way, mentions that Big Jim is one of the names off the Patreon list. If you're a patron to the Save or Die campaign, that's patreon.com/saveordie, you can submit questions for the after game Q&A in the private patron after show. And you can also submit names to be used in game. And I think we've actually gone through all of the Save or Die NPC names. Big Jim is the last one. And so if you are a Save or Die patron with naming rights, you should submit a name. And you want to check out the after show. That's also a cool place. Big Jim? It's Big Jim. Yeah.
That's what I said, yeah. Big Jim.
Yeah. Mentions that, well, you might need this map of Scalesvale there, Steermere. And I think that is the cliffhanger that we left off on.
Yes. And then I say, wait, how do you know my name?
Well, I mean, and this is the reason I told you to pay attention to the music earlier when it was light and fluffy and then kind of like chill town music. And there's some guards and there's bandits, but it's all fine. But then all of a sudden, this person knows Steermere's name. And the music changes. On behalf of the one who knows everything. On the behalf of Julia Farseer. That was so awkward. See that pause and me having to double check her name? Knows everything. On the behalf of... Elect you. Watch. Just look at the faces for a moment here.
On behalf of who?
So he asks, I can't remember the name. Pause. And then you can see my face turning to start scrolling through notes or something, trying to find on whose name it is. And you can see how I delay and hold time by saying, on behalf of the one who knows That's just filling dead space to try and find this name. Behalf of the one who knows everything. On the behalf of Julia Farseer. I'm so bad. I am so bad at remembering names.
I look at the party.
We ever heard of her?
All right, so now here is the question. Is this more spooky music just like setting up the vibe that, oh my God, by surprise, people know you and they're expecting you and like you're spooked? Or is this foreshadowing about Julia's morality, intentions, and what she wants to do with the party? What do you think? Is it just like, ooh, startling moment? Or does it have like a deeper meaning?
She's some sort of diviner.
Jim nods. A big nod.
What'd she want with us?
Big Jim. I'm not
That's
a
why
Farseer. Big nod.
You didn't ask her?
Why would I?
Curiosity.
No. I know better. My place is... I'm being paid to introduce you to a trusted individual. Yeah, she's just some person who's like, hey, I'm supposed to deliver you from here to here. She doesn't know shit. He doesn't know shit. Big Jim doesn't know shit.
This trusted individual got a house we can stay in?
This person is not able to bargain on behalf of Julia Farseer. This person is just here to deliver you to her.
Or an inn?
That is your business with her. I cannot speak on her behalf or extend her hospitality, but there is an inn in Scalesvale, and if you buy my map for 10 GP, I'll even point it out on the map for you.
Tends to be that the guards will just point you to these places for free.
That's true.
We get both maps for 10 gold, yeah?
No, first one for 5, second one for 10. Local maps are harder to get. You can only get them here in Scalesvale. Wherever you go in the world, you'll never know the layout of this city without this map. Not a great selling point.
But you only need them here.
Yeah, you kind of only need them when you're here. So.
Well, if you're a traveler from far away, you might like to collect some mementos of your travels. Maybe when you're done with your journey, you'd like to hang a map of Scalesvale in your office and say, this is where I was. And you and your friends and family can come around and look at it. It's a keepsake.
That sounds like a great idea. I want
That's actually a really good pitch, though.
to buy it. Can I
I
have
spit on
two,
the ground.
actually?
Of course.
I spit on the ground and say, when I leave this land, I'll piss on that map.
then you will need a second map to hang on your wall. I hear 2 for the Roy over there and 1 for their worship Vasher.
I don't need a map. I'll piss on Royce.
I'll hold out 20 gold for him.
And 2 maps will be added to your character sheet.
Is he going to give us the other map for free?
Christ.
We already have the other map.
Oh, we already have that. Okay.
Yeah. And here you go, everybody. Here is your map of Scalesvale. All right. So this map I did not make. I'm not that good. Shout out to Rusty Maps. That's who made this, and a couple of the other maps you'll see here. Now, I normally like to use the Gabriel Pickard like map making tiles. That way, as you go through a map, you can like look through the layers. You can see this is what the roof looks like. This is what the ground floor. This is what the second floor. This is what the basement looks like. And they're nice for battle maps. And I try to usually make my towns with those if I'm going to like give you a map of an area, or like just do a quick little doodle so that I can use those map assets for when combat comes. But I'm really not expecting combat in this city. I know that we just had combat in the last city, but there's like there's things at work here, and I'm not expecting combat here. Or if there is, it's going to be inside like an inn, and then we can just use an inn for the layout. So that's why we're using these maps. Also, I think the game looks nice when you have more assets, and I think there's room in the budget to allocate more assets like nice maps. And so one of the things I'm trying to do is spend a little bit more money and more time on producing slightly nicer assets. The map that you see right here, the map of the southern section of Arcadia, is a in progress version of the OG Arcadia map, which is being worked on and is almost done. In the very next session, this is episode 8. In episode 9, you'll see the more updated, more finished, more colored version of the map. And if you catch the map making streams, you'll probably see it be finished next week or the week after. We're getting real close.
Go left, guys.
You've got 7. Yeah, okay.
But that's why people are chilling outside.
I've got 24. How much is
I have
Tasha
20, but why not just send one person in to go talk to the lady?
Because if it's a trap, it's nice to have all of us there.
But it's a city.
I actually have -1 gold. I think I owe one of you gold.
Who would kill someone in a city, guys?
Yeah, true.
It wouldn't happen.
Wouldn't happen.
Well, you want me to go, Cassian?
Big Jim looks... I think Julia would like to speak with all of you.
There you go.
I'm sure you have the funds to make it in. You wouldn't want to stay out here overnight. And Big Jim points to the bandits. We're arguing over the entrance fees to town because it costs money to come into town. The fees.
I'll grunt and I'll say they wouldn't want to stay overnight with us.
You'd be surprised how little coin we actually have. But yes, fine. I mean, it looks like we've got no choice.
That's one of the things that I have really been enjoying is the charging people for entrance into town. Like, once upon a time, I read a book. It's called The Castle Guide. It's a 2nd edition supplementary book that is really just talking about how you would build a castle on a keep, how you would run it in game terms, what sort of events might happen, how long it would take to build these things, the sort of man hours you need, the gold you need, blah, 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 blah. But the very first chapter has a section on the feudal setting and has a section on taxes, and it's called Death by Taxes. And it talks about the tax breakdown of the medieval world, because you and I are used to the modern world where there is a sales tax, and you might pay property tax, and you might pay income tax, and you might pay a road toll every now and then. But, the taxes are a lot more concentrated. You pay your income tax. If you own a house, you might pay some property tax. And then sales tax is just sort of worked into a bunch of stuff. You don't really think about it. They just add it on automatically, or it's automatically included in the price. And you don't ever have to really think about these things. They're always present. But the section on death by taxes breaks down how taxes might have worked, and it comes up with all sorts of wonderful tips and tricks and ideas on how you might do things, from like royal licenses to legal fees and duties, commerce duties, to taxes on magic, perhaps, or market taxes, inheritance taxes, tolls, consumption taxes, luxury, all sorts of things. And one of the things that they talk in here is how there are fees to enter certain areas or use certain bridges or use certain blah, 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 blah. Like they laid out some ideas on medieval tax law, or an example of a feudal tax law system. And I would like to lean more heavily into that. Because one of the things that drives me crazy, which doesn't really matter for the game at all, is how do our economies, like how many times have your player characters ever been taxed by the government? Ever? Have your characters ever had to pay taxes? No. But the kingdoms run, the soldiers get paid, the bridges get built, the castles are maintained, the wizards are hired. Where does this money come from? Well, obviously it comes from taxes, but if our characters aren't paying taxes, then where does the money come from? And I would like to find a way to enforce taxes in Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, I know how ridiculous and dorky that sounds, that my Dungeons and Dragons experience is not good until there are in-game taxes that my players have to pay. I think it is a nice tool to sort of pull wealth out of the party, because it's nice to reward the party with large amounts of wealth, but then they acquire so much wealth because they never really need to spend it. So it's nice to have some sort of like, oh, you're doing all this grand adventuring. Well, it's going to cost you some money to do it. And then you can like tax them down a little bit. And I think a couple of really nice ways to do that would be bridge taxes and city taxes. And I've been doing like a gold ahead, human or animal, to go into a city, which is actually quite a lot of taxes. I don't think your ordinary person would be able to nearly afford that sort of stuff, but like a silver ahead on market day might be reasonable, or like a gold ahead for warriors or merchants, or it gets kind of difficult to judge how these things might work. The point is that you want it to make sense, and you want it to have the nice mechanics and the nice zone feel without feeling overburdensome. So if it's like a 1 gold fee and your level 1 characters are broke, then they can't get into the city and it's a problem. But then if that's a problem, like maybe there's a squalor town built outside of around the city walls where people exist and it's not protected by the city and the laws of the city don't apply there, but like you can be close enough to the city that you can sort of trade with it. That could be a cool thing that you could, there's a lot that you could do with tax law. But at the end of the day, if your players feel like they're having to fill out their 1090s, or their, whatever their tax forms are, I can't remember them right now. 1090Cs? They're the 1090Cs, I think. That's not going to be fun. Your players don't want to play Dungeons and Dragons to play tax laws. I know there's a disproportionate number of accountants that play D&D, but like that's not why we're here. So I want to introduce it in order to balance the game world and to allow some more wealth extraction from the party, and to give them some more things to interact with, reasons to do things or not do things, but I don't want it to feel overly burdensome. And so having a flat tax for things like it's a goal to get in the city, period. Well, let's just send one person in, or, you know, let's not go to the city yet, or let's skip the city and camp outside. Those things might be nice. Or, you know, it's a silver to cross the bridge, or you can like, you know, walk around it or try and ford it. And if you're broke, you can try and ford it, and maybe you lose some gear, maybe you don't. And if you're rich, you just pay it and don't worry about it. And it would just, you know, I feel like it would open up opportunities. I feel like there is something to be gained through the fees and taxes that might be applied. I can't put my finger on what it is, but I feel like, you know what it is? It's that players get money, and then there's not a lot of opportunities to spend it. It's like gear, in fees, rations. I guess that just goes under gear. And it would be nice to have money be a resource that the players are spending more often. I want the money to feel more useful and have more outlets and play a bigger role in day-to-day operations. And so having the players walk around with cash and spend their cash, I think feels nice. So that's a long-winded spiel on fantasy tax law. Big Jim will walk you through the town and bring you to Julia Farseer's estate. It is well fortified. There are bars over all the windows. There are guards at the gates wearing leather armor. We probably have to rotate out the guards, or maybe they're next to the river. It's just cool enough, or who knows what the situation is for these people. But you'll be brought to the door, and Big Jim will talk to the guard, and they will let you in. And Jim will motion that you can leave your pack animals and your cart out here, and it'll be safe in the courtyard of the estate, and that someone else will attend to these things for you. And you can trust that they won't your merchandise won't be bothered. Maybe a weapon license that you have to have if you come into town. If you carry any weapons on you, it costs 10 gold. Or you buy a yearly license, or you can apply for a yearly license for like 100 gold, and then you can carry your weapons around town.
Not much of a diviner if she didn't foresee us being low on coin.
Maybe she didn't check.
Also, they're not low. They have it. They made it in. She's a great diviner, okay? She's a great diviner, Mr. Boone. You don't know what you're talking about.
Let's keep an open mind.
I wonder if I can ask her about my future as a hero.
You probably can, Roy. You might like her, Roy. She's probably the only person in this entire place who knows who you are, apart from us.
Rolling the Waystars.
Perhaps.
I say when I say rolling the Waystars, I say it like a little louder and like look around and hope that like someone.
The guards don't seem to take mind, but they let you pass, and Big Jim will lead you into the estate and back through some corridors and hallways and up a set of stairs, and then around another area past a door that has a guard on it. The reason I'm describing their path through the house actually has some purpose. Being pretty quick and mentioning lots of things to underscore the fact that they're going into a building and they might not necessarily know their way out because they're going down foreign passageways in a foreign town in a foreign country, and they're just being led and making a bunch of turns. It's intentionally obscuring their path. And we're going to see that Julia's sitting in a well-protected room. And once again, we're sort of laying the groundwork for the behind the scenes of how this NPC works, where she uses intermediaries who aren't her full-time employees, who have their own thing going on. And she's got this house, and she takes her meetings in this very protected room that's sort of like through a maze-like system to even get there. So if something goes down, and if there's some chaos, or there's a mess, or there's a battle that happens, Julia's pretty protected, and the people who are fighting her are kind of trapped and confused and don't really know where they are. We're setting up her layers of personal defenses ahead of time. Another set of stairs, and finally to the atrium of some sort of meeting room. And putting a hand on the doorknob will open the door and kind of, toss it into the room, letting it sail in on its own. Mentioning which way the door goes into the room, not out of the room, and motion for you to, probably not important, but if a battle begins, it might be important to go on in if you would like.
Yeah, I walk in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've still got my weapons and stuff on me here.
Absolutely. They have not been taken off you at all. Right, because she's already defended. She doesn't need to put people off their guard. Keep your weapons, but you'll never get to me. But keep your weapons. It's that, Julia is the sort of person who will, how do we say this? Use context and circumstance to her advantage. She's not a more direct person would say, you can have a meeting with me, but you can't have your weapons or your spell components or your arcane focuses. You just have to show up with nothing. And I'll have bodyguards, but we can just meet face to face. And that's sort of security in a very direct way. And Julia is more like, no, keep your stuff, have your things, take all your weapons and all your spell components, come meet me inside. But you don't really know where you are. You're kind of stuck in a maze. I've got guards outside and you can't actually get to me because, there's a glass wall between us and we have to talk through that. So, haha. And it's just it's a different type of security. It's a little bit more roundabout. It's a little more gentle. It's a little softer. It's a little... what's the word? Not conniving. It's she's not trying to project power, force, and authority. She's trying to keep herself safe without revealing her hand or making other people feel not at ease, right? There is a game being played here. It doesn't necessarily make her a bad person. It doesn't mean that she's an evil monster who's screwing with people. It's just that she is, she's making efforts so that everyone's comfortable and everyone can meet her face to face. It's the I am an important, powerful person in town, and I'm going to respect you by leaving you with your gear, but I'm going to keep myself safe and, in a situation where you're not going to be able to hurt me.
A lady.
This room is dimly lit by candelabras in the corners, and it is an odd room. It has a table against the back wall. As you walk in, more or less a rectangular room going sideways. There's a half table against the back wall, and the back wall is made out of stone, like all the other walls here, except there's a big plate glass, maybe plate glass is not the right term, but a thick glass window set in the middle of the wall that the table runs right up against. And
does that
on the
wall
other
go
side,
outside? Yeah.
No, it goes to another room that must be on the other side of the wall, and sitting on the opposite side of... Must it be on the other side of the wall? Or is this some sort of magic looking glass thing? Maybe Julia is in a completely different area and this piece of glass is just set into the wall and she's using it as a way to talk to people while she can be pretty far away. Or maybe it's just a piece of glass and the party can just see through it and she's on the other side. Who knows? Who knows? Of the glass is a woman. Is Julia, or you suspect to be Julia Farseer.
So as I walk in,
kill this one.
Is there all sorts of weird knickknacks around the corner, around the edges of the room and different,
no, there's the
glass
candelabras.
weird.
There's some vases, not vases, carafes with water and some mugs out there for you to fill for yourself. There's a tray with some crackers and some dates on it. And there's some coat racks for you to hang up your stuff and some sword racks if you need to put your swords or weapons somewhere. And then there's 6 chairs around this semicircle table.
This is very unusual. I don't think I've ever been in a room like this before.
Yeah, it's strange. You'd think a Farseer would know that we don't intend to do her any harm. I take my seat, the middle seat, facing the glass.
You think she built this room just to talk to you? Yeah.
Well, she's choosing.
What a ridiculous thing.
I don't think I've ever been in a room like this before.
Yeah, it's strange. You'd think a Farseer would know that we don't intend to do her any harm.
All right. First off, Farseer doesn't mean you know everything and you're completely omnipotent, right? Obviously, nobody's omnipotent except for maybe the gods. Maybe the gods not even aren't omnipotent themselves. So, dumb thing to say. Also, this is your first meeting with someone. So maybe it's not about protecting her, maybe it's about projecting power to you, all right? And also, Maybe this is just her regular meeting room. Maybe she just meets people in the meeting room, and you're just always going to use that meeting room when you meet someone and you're conducting business. Like, you've got a business room set up, and so you're just going to have normal business communications with these people, and the business room is built to protect you. But even if you feel safe, what are you going to do? Like, not use your business room to conduct your business? You're like, hold on. I know I've constructed a room specifically to communicate with people, but these people, let's just move our entire communications operation to a different area in the town or the estate, just because. No. I don't know why that comment bothered me so much. It's completely normal and innocuous, and it doesn't really mean anything, but got my goat.
I take my seat, the middle seat, facing the glass.
You think she built this room just to talk to you?
Well, she's choosing to make use of it, at least.
Is it I look around. Can I see through to her room?
Absolutely. There's that big glass window. That's the only way in. There's not like a door that goes there.
That's but does she have a door to leave the room on the other side?
So you tell me, how are you just sitting at the table and kind of casually glancing, or are you walking around the table to get as good of a view of her room as possible? Like, how
Vasher's really curious. He's like leaning up against. He's like getting as close to the glass as he can, and he's like trying to see, like, is she trapped in there? Like, what's going on?
No, she definitely has a door on the other side. It's not directly behind the glass. It's like to the left. Okay. The glass is solid, Mr. Mouton. Your hand comes against it. It feels cool on your skin.
I go to pour myself a drink. Is there only water?
Yes.
Can you hear us? I say to her.
Greetings.
Greetings, Lady Farseer. I shouldn't like to be rude in a new land, but does your hospitality not extend to wine or ale? Has been a long journey through the desert.
I am a fan of having a clear head, and I think my guests should have one as well when we speak. No need to dull our wits with wine. One of the things that I'm trying to do with Julia Farseer here is keep her somewhat mysterious. Are her motivations pure? Are they corrupt? Is she helping the party and helping herself at the same time? Is she manipulating the party to help her without any regard for how it affects the party? Like, what is her goal? What is her aim? And I think throughout this session, I do a pretty good job of keeping her motives a little murky. And I do think that she comes across as sort of straightforward, but with a little bit of mystique. At least that's the goal. The goal is for her to be straightforward with like a little bit of mystique. So you're kind of like, is there something else going on here? But also what she says is extremely reasonable, hopefully, and straightforward, and like, yeah. So I'm trying to create a little bit of a sense of trustworthiness, but like this person knows a lot more than I do, and I don't know enough about them to understand them.
I'll speak up and I'll say, what is this place? Why? And I'll kind of like put my hand on the glasses, like, why is there a wall between us?
There are many people who seek my counsel. What we have to discuss must be done in private, without the protection of my guards. This is an easy way to keep myself safe from those who might have a change of heart in the heat of the moment.
What is it, Lady Farseer?
So this right here, I think it was an improvised script, but I think this is a really good way of underscoring sort of her personality, is that she's going to have communications with you about important, sensitive matters, and she's wise enough to know that even her guards might be paid to listen in on conversations and pass the information on. And so she's created an environment where no guards are needed, where it's just the people she's talking to and her with no one able to listen, which kind of implies that might be some sort of magical protections on the room too to prevent scrying or something. Maybe. That's not quite clear. No one looked for it. But she's also going to keep herself safe, right? She's going to put herself on the other side of some glass, get herself a little bit away from the party. And I think this is a great example of the cautiousness of Lady Farseer.
See her once with Sturmir and the Storm Riders.
I I'll whisper, like, Stormtide Stallions.
I am here to welcome you to Scalesvale and to make with you a trade.
Okay, well, I'm listening. We're always in the market for gold. Our coffers are running short.
I can help you on your journey to the pyramid at Heatstroke, or showing off that Julia knows a bunch about them, to find a scroll of resurrection to raise good King Arnold from the dead. Julia clearly knows a lot about the party. She's got information on them more than anyone else. Like, she was waiting for them, had someone meet them, and knows all this stuff about them. Clearly, she knows a lot. There are 3 paths before you to that journey. I can help you choose which one to take. Now, the railroaders in chat will expect that one of these paths is the path the DM wants the party to take and is going to railroad the party down. But that's not the case. I've actually prepared 2 of the 3 paths pretty well, and one of them would take a little while to do. The Path of Peace, it's a long journey to get there, and there'll be some encounters along the way, and so I kind of waited off on that because if the party goes that route, I wouldn't need to plan it for another session, at least. So of these 3 paths, actually, there's more than 3 paths. There are multiple routes, and I have a pretty good idea how each of them would play out.
I'm all ears.
I want something in exchange. Knowledge is power, and I do not share my knowledge freely.
What would you
For
like?
all we know, hang on. For all we know, you could have gathered that information through spying on us or something like that.
Yeah, she's a Farseer. Not all of her information comes through scry, like magical means. Some of it comes through mundane means, some of it comes through magical means. What did he say exactly?
Hang on. For all we know, you could have gathered that information through spying on us or something like that. We're going to need a little bit more than that before we can go risking our lives for you.
Yeah. She's her. Well, actually, we'll talk about her in a
Which
little
I'm
bit.
sure is what you have in mind.
Not at all.
Steermere.
I do not need you.
Poor Cassian.
I do not need you to risk your life for me. That is not what I want. I want to communicate with your faraway kingdom. I want to speak with good King Arnold. I want an emissary brought to the Stormtide Kingdom when you return successful from your journey. So, Julia Farseer, she knows things. Her job is sort of like or her role in society is sort of like an information conduit, gathers intelligence, sells it to people, shares it with people. And what she wants is greater communications and connections with people even further away. Now, that's a pretty honest and reasonable assessment of what she wants. It makes sense for the character. It's a difficult thing to get. Only the party can really give it to her. I mean, maybe she could like send someone on a boat way over there and like establish some sort of communications. But if you really want to communicate with a faraway place, you know, wouldn't it be easier to get a lead in from some great heroes that are going back to that place? I don't know if our players believe Julia when she says this is what she wants. But this is a pretty legitimate, straightforward, here are my needs, right? This is one of the things that I want to do with Julia is have her be straightforward and still mysterious. What else could she possibly be wanting from the party? What else could the party possibly offer her other than this communication?
Wow.
Seek contacts with faraway worlds.
I relax in my chair. That's one for you boys, I say to Cassian and Vasher and Roy.
Vasher will
Vasher a
nod and
look.
say,
Yeah.
facilitating diplomatic envoys, while not part of our expedition, should be completely within our purview. What is the purpose of your communication with the Stormtide Kingdom? Is it for trade, diplomacy? Do you seek an alliance?
Great questions, Potato McWhiskey. Excellent. Like, you want to talk to my folks? Why do you want to talk to my folks? What is your end goal here? But in a classic Julia way, she says, I would love to speak with the great Waystar himself. My business with the Stormtide Kingdom at present time is a simple hello. How are you? Who are you? What can we do for one another? She doesn't have a grand plan, right? This is that like slow information game. This is the slow game that I think is really fun to play, is that it's not like Julie has this grand plan and this one thing is the linchpin. She's just looking for an introduction. She's realizing that faraway peoples with a lot of power might be able to help each other. Even if she could just learn about these faraway people, she might be able to benefit. Maybe there's trade to be had. Maybe these faraway people are dangerous. Maybe these faraway people have similar interests and they might be able to work together. Or maybe she can facilitate something for them in exchange for something else somewhere. She doesn't really know what she's going to get out of this situation, but she sees an opportunity and is going to investigate it. She's trading an introduction to communications to helping the party decide what it is that they want to do. Because the party is kind of in a rough spot at the moment. Like, they don't really have a clear path forward.
Then
Very well.
if it's okay with Vasher, yeah. You have my
We
word.
can do this. As the highest ranking officer in this expedition, I am capable of making these sort of diplomatic deals, and we will escort your envoy back to the Stormtide Kingdom after we have visited our destination.
She reaches
Easiest communication
the glass
possible.
window doesn't, it's not super wide. It's only about, yay wide or so. And she reaches to the wall on her side of the window and pulls forth a triangular pyramid made out of glass, some sort of prism or just glass sculpture or statue. It looks like a regular old square pyramid made out of glass with maybe a slight tinge to it, but it's hard to tell with the
Tint, I think, is what I
light
meant.
in the
not
area. This whole room
tinge.
is very dim. I will have one of my guards bring this to you and take
Oh
it
no,
on
tinge
your
is also the
journey.
right word.
This will
Cool.
act as my method of communication with your people back home. But do not lose it. Carry it with you in a safe place. Now, this class pyramid, her method of communication with people back home, carry it with you until you get back home. Also pretty straightforward, but also beginning to add a little bit of mystery. She might be some sort of magic user. Maybe she can communicate through this glass pyramid. But saying to somebody, here, take this thing and carry it with you because I'm a magic user and I can communicate with it through it to people far away, I feel like there's some inherent sketch to this. Like, what if she's lying? What if it's an explosive device? Or what if it allows the wielder to be summoned back to her? Or what if it's just a tool that she can use to scry on you? Or like a bunch of stuff that this thing maybe could be, and you just kind of got to trust her. But at the same time, this also makes perfect sense with her plan. So either, this thing truly is a communication device, and she truly does want to speak with the people back home, or that first story was a lie, an entire lie to justify the party keeping this thing on them. Now, why would Julia Farseer care what the party does? I mean, she's into information. Maybe she is looking for information on the party, but like, to what end? How does that help her? Especially since they're trying to leave the Great Desert where she lives. It's not like they're going to be kicking around here for a long time. So is this is what I'm talking about, trying to be straightforward and honest, but also with a little bit of mystique. Can we trust her? Can we not trust her? I think we can trust Julia.
Vasher nods.
Is it easily breakable?
It
Hang on,
is
hang on,
breakable, but not easily.
How do we know what this item does?
You don't?
Could you allow our wizard to study it for some time so we can confirm its use before we take what's potentially a hostile magic item back to our homeland?
Vasher nods.
It will be in your possession until you arrive home. You can do with it as you please. Trying to be straightforward. She's not giving them permission to scry on it, but she's just pointing out the fact that they can do whatever they want with this thing. She's giving it to them. And also mentioning that, like, after the PCs, she's not directly mentioning it, but after the PCs get the information from Julia, at any point in time, they can abandon their end of the deal. They can just chuck the pyramid and never mention her to anyone ever again, right? She doesn't hold anything over the party's head. They are in control, total control of this negotiation, and they have the upper hand the whole way through. Assuming your intentions are honorable and you don't throw it overboard.
Indeed, no. We are men of our word. We wouldn't like to agree to the deal until we're sure we can keep it. We'll stay in town for a couple of days. Check the item does what you say it was, and then we'll agree to a deal. And
I will whisper to Steermere. We don't have the gold for the pearl to check.
wait, hang on. Can't you just you can't do the attuning thing in Neal's version of 5e? Is that what we're saying? Yeah.
Well, not all items are
this.
tunable,
Okay.
right? It depends on the thing.
Yeah, good point.
As long as we are able to check this item in our travels and make sure that it was going to do our kingdom no harm. It's not a fireball in a box for King Arnold when we resurrect him. Something like that. Then you have our word that we will bring this item and we will get you to King Arnold, an audience.
This item has no more capability to do harm than used as a weapon in your hand.
I'm just gonna say that Vasher's sword.
Again, direct, but with a little bit of mystery. That's the vibe I'm going for.
Then if that's true, it's settled then, yes? We're in agreement?
I think so.
We're gonna skip a little bit. Which is slow. The path forward for... Man, I shouldn't have skipped it all. There are 3 paths forward for our dear Waystars. 3 paths forward. And to be honest, these 3 paths are pretty accurate and true. Out of game. Let's go through them one by one. There is the path of peace and tranquility, which is slow. Just as a high-minded concept, if you're going the peaceful path, it usually takes more time. It involves communication. It involves, getting people on your sides, diplomacy, maybe going around things. The peaceful path is almost always the slowest path. There is the path of compromise, which is fast. And then there is the one I think you want. The path of rage, fury, and righteous destruction of everything about these lands you hate. Now, obviously, the players are going to take the path of righteous destruction. If you say a path of peace, which is slow, a path of compromise, no player ever wants to compromise for anything, and a path of righteous destruction, obviously the parties are going to take the path of righteous destruction, which is why Julia is like, I think this is the one that you guys want to take. I think you really want to do this, and I'll help you on your journey, but I think this is probably the way you want to go. Or is she framing this in a way in order to get the party to do something that she wants them to do?
Basher is nodding confidently.
As much as I think that we'd like that path, or at least him, and I'll point to Vasher, I think we need to go with the path of compromise, the quick one. Our goal here is to resurrect.
I'll hold up my hand and say, let's hear out the rage path.
In this town, there are 4 major presences. There's the Acropolis, the clerics and the priests, the temples. There is myself. She's the second most powerful one. That's where she put herself, is number 2 power, right behind the Acropolis. There is Cassius Silverbars, the dwarven gladiator who fared so well he bought his freedom, and then the arena, and then organized with his fellows back in Rithraheim, and founded the city of Cork, and trades extensively between the Green River and the Great River, both in terms of spices, metals, and flesh. Not a great guy. Lastly, there is Magna, Queen of the Bandits. Not a great guy. You have met her men before. You have killed her men before. So we get a little bit of like, well, yeah, there's the clerics in the temple, and then there's the slave trader, and then there's the bandit queen, and then there's me. Now, is Julia giving our players an honest assessment of the area? She seems to be pretty straightforward and honest so far, but the DM's got sort of spooky music and he's talking slowly. So can you really trust what the DM is saying right now? Is this a realistic assessment of the situation? Yeah, yes, it is. But the idea is to sort of maybe put a little bit of a question mark on it. She finds you here. If she knows your presence, she will undoubtedly seek retribution. While her minions seem to be within your capability, Bandit Queen herself is very difficult. Yeah, she does like 32 damage on a hit. Cassius, if you fail your con save. It's a merchant who would undoubtedly have use once around for the lot of you, one way or another. In chains, or in marriage, or in contracts, Cassius Silverbars could make use of you. You could go to him, the path of compromise. He would make you an offer, and you could work with the slaver, the trader, the man who puts people out on the streets to buy their homes when they're in flames and puts them out.
Asher's hands curled into fists, and he slams them on the table. I won't work with a slaver anymore. I'm done with this land.
Yeah, party's not too happy about how things ended up in Bellwind. They're feeling the frustration and the constraints of this land that protects evildoers. Which is why Julia can tell that the party really wants to go on the path of righteous fury. The path of compromise is essentially go to Cassius and be like, yo, dude, we've got something that you want. I know it. Why don't you help us out and we'll help you out? And there's a whole plot line where they go to Cassius. Spoilers, they don't. And Cassius, being the great trader they are, is like, yo, I will get you on a boat. I will send you upriver. I will give you gold and armor and weapons. I will outfit your party and just like send you all the way up to Blup, or at least as far as our boats will get you to Blup. But in exchange, Roy has to marry one of my children. And then when you're done resurrecting good King Arnold, then you and the child of mine that you're going to marry, you come back to me, marry my kid when you're done with your resurrecting good King Arnold, and I will put you on a boat and I will put you all the way back home. So the compromise is that Cassius gears them, armors them, equips them, gets them across the river and up the desert and the Badlands, and then when they're done with the main quest, also puts them on a boat and gets them back home. The compromise solves all of their problems, and the only thing that they need to do is marry Roy to one of Cassius's kids. That was going to be the compromise. That's a tempting one. Notice that we don't actually get to it. Julia just says, like, the path of compromise. Cassius, who trades in all of these things, is the person who would help you out and make you this offer. That was the offer that was going to be on the table. That is the path of compromise. It would be easy to work with Cassius to get up the river. The path of peace takes you up the Schlagenglas River to Rith-Rahim, to speak with dwarves, to speak with those who live deep under the earth, and with your patience, your charms, you may make friends, although it may take some time. Dwarves are slow to earn trust, and they may help you cross the mountains and the plains and get to where you need to go. And then there's the path, retribution, righteousness, and rage. We leave this one for last because we know it's the one that the party actually wants. Cork is not far from here. It's just on the other side of the mountains. There's but one path that leads there. The canyons are tall, and Cork is well defended. This city belongs to Cassius Silver Bars. It is the heart of her trade. In there, you will find gold, weapons, armor, anything you might need to complete your journey can be found in Cork, and you have but to reach out and take it.
This all sounds very enthralling, but is there not something else in Cork? An army of slavers?
Cork is indeed defended. So we're just going to skip ahead a little bit because they talk about what's going on here. She gives them some information on the dudes that can be found there. She gives them a map. Here's the map. This is also from Rusty Maps. And this one, you can see we've got the hex grid on roughly to scale. It's kind of hard to get the map to scale. And we're going to try, if the party comes here, to use this as our actual battle map. Cork it's on this river. It's got these tall hills, mountains, cliffs, whatever on either side of it. You can't really see down here, but it's just water on this bottom side. It wraps all the way around. So Cork is pretty much, there's one way in and one way out, except for the river, right? But the party wouldn't be able to get to the river. They'd have to come in through the canyon system to the walls and fight. And there's going to be there's 3 hill giants, a pair of archers, and an ogre magi. The ogre magi runs the town, and that's a formidable threat. That is not chump change. The ogre magi alone can cast Cone of Cold once per day, invisibility at will. The hill giants are pretty strong. The archers aren't nothing either. I think they're each CR3 creatures. So attacking this city, the path of rage would be come to the area where there's a bunch of slavers and evildoers, but it's a small enough area that you could probably take it yourself. Destroy the evil people that you already hate and that you already want to kill, and then take anything you want from the city. This way you can get all of the gold, all of the weapons, all of the armor, maybe some potions, maybe some magic items. You can get all the loot and all the tools that you would need for your journey. if you just go attack and sack this town over here. You don't even have to sack it, just get rid of all of the evildoers that you really want to get rid of. And also, this would put a huge dent in the slavers' operation. And so this is the path of righteous retribution and violence and bloodshed. And it's a tempting target for our players, hopefully, because they get what they want and they get to screw over the people they don't want. But it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. But it is a viable option for acquiring all of the wealth they need. Tell you that Cork is on the backside of this trail. It's got tall hills.
Wait, they only do 66 plus 5 damage. Oh, that's nothing.
Plus 8 to hit, dude?
That's only like an average of 30
There's a 20%
damage a hit.
chance they don't... There's only a 20% chance they don't hit us.
Yeah, I'm being sarcastic. I don't know if that came across. I think we kind of missed that.
No, because I did 60 damage last time, like in a round. Easy.
We're not... If we're level 5, we can maybe kill a hell giant.
There are only 3 hill giants in Cork. One typically guards the gates. The others work on the...
Under your belt.
We're going to skip ahead, and we're just going to talk about the... We're going to talk about this battle for... Well, no. We're going to... We're not. We're going to talk about this battle a little bit later.
I mean, putting coins into the pockets of Cassius.
So, it's not. It's like different. But
Okay, great. We're on the same page.
also,
It's still bad, right?
but
We're talking about morality. We're talking about what it is to kill
Maybe lose a
someone and
ship.
enslave
How do we then
someone. There's a
get-
little bit of interesting moral back and forth, but it's not really worth digging into right now.
Aren't we?
Still, but Cassius owns all the ships in Scalesvale. Bellwind won't
And-
take us in, so...
Yeah, but we have...
Right. You can't get the ships here in Scalesvale because Cassius owns them, because Cassius is the big merchant here.
all of his wealth, and we just come back to Scalesvale and...
I'm sure fine far from Scalesvale to Cork. Go back to
In the world, but yeah.
Bellwind.
Yeah, crazy, and I'll be honest, it is kind
Blah,
of
blah,
crazy.
blah. Here says is returned.
The prism on my character sheet. And
And it was a full pound of incense somewhere. So our party gets they're done talking with Julia, and they head to an inn to sort things out. There were only 2. So one, Julia.
You should give it to
Julia
Roy
Prism.
so he can spend time with it.
okay, yeah.
All right,
You put it
so
on your
Roy has it
character
right
sheet.
now. I'll put it later.
you're gonna keep one tripod and you're gonna sell the other.
The other 2, yeah.
There were only 2, so
Well,
Yeah,
there's 3. Okay,
keep one.
I'll keep one.
all right, so you can sell that for 25, no problem. There are 8 fine blankets, which sell for 5 GP, so you can get 20. Money. These for the incense and spices. It's like you had these bags that had a pound of incense and spice each in them. And when you go to look through them, you can see that the top layer is incense and spice, but underneath it, it's been replaced with sawdust. Saffron Shadowwalker, my friend. She didn't get paid by the party. They gave her a potion and said, we got to sell everything else and we'll give you your cut later. And so what did Saffron do? She said, okay, and let the party go. And then that night, when the party's backs were turned, she went and she took what she thought was going to be her fair share, which is most of the saffron, most of the spice, and most of the incense, and left a little bit on top so that nobody would notice, because that is the sort of person that Saffron Shadowwalker is. And you know what? Maybe the party runs into her again. That would be nice. I would love to have reoccurring NPCs. And the party's run into her twice now. She's been in game 3 sessions, I think, and like a significant thing in 3 sessions. So it'd be great to see her again. But I don't know if they would kill her or not. But if they did try and fight her, she'd be like, hey, I got paid my share. You got paid your share. What's the problem? I just took it without you asking, without you knowing. But like, you upheld your end of the bargain. Are you mad at me for you upholding the end of your bargain? I don't know how we would play it out. But PCs sort of got robbed, but it was kind of legit.
Ooh, discovered this. We should roll.
You can skip these things. You can mule your camel.
A boat.
From Belwind up the river, right?
It's a lot slower to go through the desert without a mount.
Right. So
We'll
our
be able
party
to find
does
mounts
some
in Cork.
logistical conversations. They're trying to figure out if they can really go do this Cork thing and then what the plans would be from there. And I think this conversation goes on for a lot longer than it needs to. I think there's a lot of sort of guessing happening, and at some point I probably should have stepped in and helped guide them on some vagaries. I think the players are kind of like, they're not, their head's not 100% in the game right now. And if I were a better DM, I would be able to help them sort this out. But the idea is you sack Cork, then you head back to Scalesvale, but you just don't go in the city. You just go around the city and down the river back to Belwind. And just like last time at Belwind, they were able to send people into Belwind to do things for them so they could camp outside of Belwind, send in plaques, send in someone they find on the road, have a boat come round, pick them up on the shore. They could communicate with merchants in Belwind without having to go in the city if they just spent some money on it. But I think they get a little bit stuck on the fact that like they wouldn't be able to, how are we going to get back into Belwind when we're wanted? And if they did head to Belwind and just camped outside the city walls, there is some question of, do the guards at Belwind chase you into the city, if you chase you into the desert if you've broken their laws, or will they stop chasing you at the city walls? Like, if the party's parked right outside the city walls, would the guards be like, hey, it's the Waystars, let's get them? Or would it's like, well, you're on the outside of the wall, so technically we can't reach you. Like, the law ends at the walls, but if you've broken the law inside the walls, how far would the guards come after you? And we have not yet had an opportunity to answer that question.
We're all eating some nice food that you can describe for us and having a pint, and we'll decide what to do.
What's the local delicacy?
I'm so bad at coming up with these things.
Unfortunately.
That doesn't sound too bad.
Chicken and
Tenders, but they were like little strips.
it was accurate. Yeah.
They are in the Serpent's Drink. You've got some, and
Yep.
don't mind that minion intelligence roll. It's fine.
So I say, it's a short walk to Cork. I want to come back another.
The city waiting for us, and they'll
Blah 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 blah
They
blah.
can cast spells, but nothing.
Absolutely. Okay. We
So
are
I'm
going to
not-
skip ahead quite a lot here because they talk about Cork a lot, and what they might do and how they might get there. And then we're going to get to this other thing up ahead here. We're going to skip ahead. We're going to skip like the middle third of this because there's a lot of battle planning and thinking about how they might go about things. And there's not a lot of commentary to give on that other than what you would get yourself. So if you want a commentary on that, you should just watch that section of the session. But the long and short is it's a difficult looking battle and they're not sure if they can handle it. And they're not sure what they would do afterwards. And they just kind of go in circles on it for a little while, which, I think I could have given some better guidance. Plax is with them. Plax could have piped up and said, I could help you. I can help you navigate the city side of these things. But the players trying to decide if they could take that battle is an important conversation. And it's really nice to see players be concerned about a fight and maybe try to not take it, or at least try to think about it. So often D&D comes down to, oh, well, there's a problem, let's just hit it with the hammer. And having players be like, here's a problem, I don't know if my hammer's big enough, maybe we shouldn't do it. And in the end, I think they decide to go scout it out. So that's why they're in this canyon right now, is they're like, well, let's not commit to it, but let's ride out there anyway and like do a little bit of reconnaissance and see if we can't get more information or find something out. Like, let's just get a look at the place in the flesh, which is a great option. It's the best option. It'd take them 45 minutes to get there. But like, chef's kiss, great plan, party. It's a very great plan. And what we see now in this scene right here, let me just move the cameras, is the party coming around the corner as they're going through this canyon system and coming across a wagon, what do you call it? A caravan belonging to Cassius Silver Bars, leaving Cork and coming back to Scalesvale, but a rock slide has sort of blocked their path and they are unblocking it. Now, I fully anticipated this to be straight up, well, let's just kill them. They're obviously Cassius's men. We don't like Cassius's men. Let's get them. But I think the party's in a spot where they're concerned about their resources. Actually, this is a part that we ended up skipping over in the middle here. The reason the party doesn't long rest in Scalesvale is that they're told that they will be found out. Remember when I said that intelligence roll? Don't worry about that intelligence roll that I made. It's like somewhere over here. There was a minion making an intelligence check. Somewhere over here. No, it was there. I called it out when I saw it. Ah, right here. This minion intelligence roll. This was a was it an investigation check? It was a check to see if the party had been spotted by somebody, or if someone in the inn recognized the party for the people for who they were and was going to go report them back to their commander, which either would have been Cassius or Magna. And the intelligence roll was low enough that it didn't happen. So the reason that the party doesn't long rest in Scalesvale is that Magna, Queen of Bandits, if she finds out the party's in town, is probably going to come and kill the party. And she is absolutely terrifying. Her stat block is ferocious. There's a reason she is the Queen of Bandits and not some, little chump. She has +8 to hit, makes 2 rapier attacks that each do D8 +4, and each of them also have a DC 15 con saving throw or takes 7d6 poison damage, half as much on a successful save, and she gets an extra 4d6 sneak attack damage. So she's pretty good. And she's got 16 AC. So she's pretty terrifying. Magna Queen of Bandits would easily kill at least one person in the party, probably the whole party, and that she probably wouldn't come alone either. It would probably be her and some real henchmen. So you don't want to get caught by Magna Queen of Bandits in town. And there's also some Cassius might find you, but he's just going to make you an offer. But if you're then going to go kill all of his people and sack his city, maybe you don't actually want to be meeting with him. So that's why they don't take a long rest. And that's why they find themselves meeting these people here in the canyon. And I anticipated the party just coming and slaughtering all these folks, but the party is in a spot where they're not sure if they want to expend additional resources. They don't know if they want to spend hit dice. They don't know if they want to spend the HP. They don't know if they want to spend the spell slots to fight this group of bandits. Now, it is a group of bandits. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 melee bandits, 3 missile bandits, and 2 bodyguard units who are not hard, but also not weak. So the party would take some damage here, but they could probably do it pretty fast. And instead of fighting these folks, there's a little bit of this one right here. I think that you are. Here we go. We do. There's a little bit of negotiation. Who are you? Who are we? We're on our way to Cork. And the people well, show me your colors and blah, blah, blah. The person's the party kind of bluffs their way through it. An 18 on deception roll really helps the party lie their way through this stuff and help the party.
My name is Francine.
Stop. Get them to move. Sorry, the volume's off. The party helps these folks move these rocks so the caravan can continue. And in the process, they sort of tip their hand. Steermirror keeps asking questions, trying to get more information. He botches the deception check. The enemy does pretty well on their wisdom check. And the enemy is also realizing, these bandits are realizing, bandits I'm calling them, the caravan guard are realizing that there's something off about these people who are headed to Cork, but also like we're not going to stop and fight them. Like they look kind of scary, and it's not our job to fight these people, and they're actively helping us, so we're just going to go our own way, and the party's going to go their own way. But this 4 on the deception check really screws the party over. You know, it tips their hand that the party's not quite on the up and up. And so the bandits leave, the caravan leaves, but then the caravan, after a little while, sends one person back to Cork just to be like, hey, people at Cork, there's some folks coming. And maybe this person, this caravan rider, whose name ends up being Mitz, gets to Cork before the party. Maybe they get to the Cork after the party, but they got to send someone back to Cork, right? They're not going to fight the party, but they're going to report the party to someone else who cares and is more powerful and able to handle these things. So yeah, they form up and they leave. Later, the party's camping and they get into a fight. And it will crawl up to you. Whoops. No one else yet. And I think this is now where Cassian and the giant spider get to roll initiative.
Yes.
No one else yet. Everyone. All right. So the giant spider hanging out in the canyons, also telegraphing some other dangers to come, starts off the battle by throwing some webs on Mr. Mutin and comes in. Now, this is not necessarily a super dangerous battle. The spiders do have some poison. They can do some real damage here. They are a little bit scary, but they're not the most terrifying thing. In fact, this battle is kind of simple for the party. It's kind of chump change. We do see a little bit of funsies going on here. But more than this, we're trying to give the party a little bit of taste of these creatures. Something that we're going to talk about in just a minute is that the hills surrounding Cork are occupied. They're occupied by monsters. And I went through a big, long list of like, why don't the people in Cork guard the mountains on either side? They could guard the mountains. They could have stairways going up to the top of the... They could have stairways going up to the tops of the mountains, and towers up there, and guards up there, and maybe hill giants live up there, or all sorts of stuff. But I didn't want them to. I wanted the mountains on either side of Cork to be passively defended by monsters. And so one of the things I was thinking about putting up there was were harpies who could sing and charm people and then just like fly off the cliffs, and then the people would walk towards the harpies and just walk off the cliffs and fall to their deaths, maybe. But the problem with that is that the harpies' song reach is really, really far, and I think giants have disadvantage on it. And so the harpies aren't going to work out because they would be charming the people below the cliffs all the time. And then there was the thought of like manticores or chimeras, but I felt like chimeras are too cool to just be like random creatures that are living near Cork. And manticore is also a little bit too cool to be random creatures living near Cork. So instead, we ended up going with giant spiders and sword spiders and a whole bunch of other stuff. We got a whole battle map for like if they're going to go up into the mountains, they're going to run into these things, and there's going to be all these webs, and they're going to get swarmed by dozens and dozens of spiders, and they're all going to get poisoned, blah, 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 blah. And so here we have the spiders that live in these hills nearby, letting the party know these lands have monsters, scary monsters. It's also been a hot minute since the party has like run into actual monsters. We do a lot of like man is the real monster style of gameplay, and every now and then it's nice to have something that you can just smash on the head without having to worry about the morality of it. Giant poisonous spider tries to eat me in my sleep. It's cool. Let's just kill it.
I can only do
We would do see that Steermere gets a little bit injured here. He gets a little bit wrecked, but the battle wraps up fast enough, and we don't have to worry about it. Now here's the next part. It's the next day, They sleep in because of all the spider combat, and they want to get all the resting off. This is one of the NPCs showing up, one of those caravan guardians that we had seen before, who is on their way to Cork to report the party. And a quick skirmish involves Vasher ends up running the guy down with his horse, and he surrenders. A clutch of 6 arrows only, and it's beautiful. He surrenders, and the party lets him live, talks to him. Oh my god. This is like one of the proudest moments I have of the party. Check out how this goes. If you want.
I like people who tell the truth.
Where is this? Run by the horse.
To him as I wait for my party to catch up.
And stays standing.
Does he take the trampling damage?
Absolutely.
Boom. That's 7.
Ugh. But we'll drop his stuff, I'm assuming. Yeah, we'll drop his bow and throw up his hands as he gets overrun by the horse.
I will hold.
Party count.
Does he have like a
Vasher
piece of
nods.
paper that he's like?
Nope.
No.
You can search him
tell
if
us
you
why.
want.
I like people who tell the truth.
Yeah, I'll search him.
Yeah, just the bow, a clutch of 6 arrows only, and a dagger, and plus some traveling clothes and a little bit of water. No food.
I'll pull out the map of the town. I take
Because he's traveling light. He's going from caravan back to Cork, and you got to get there fast, so you carry as little stuff as possible.
all of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna point on the map here.
Sketchy
Where?
people were headed to town. I had to let them know what was going on.
I show him the map of the town, and I
Yeah.
say, "You're gonna point out on the map here where exactly the giants are and where the archers are."
What are you
Or
going
I'm
to do
going
with
to kill
them?
you.
Okay, well, that solves that. One giant hangs out near the gate. And
Which side of the gate?
well, the inside of the gate, obviously.
How is that obvious?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of
I guess
attitude
it's
for
not.
a man who's just been run down by a horse.
There are also a couple of guards at the gate. What was it? What was the rest of the question? I forgot already.
Where the archers? Where all of the giants?
Oh, there are 2 archers, and they take shifts: the night watchman and the day watchman. One's in one tower, one's in the other. The
When did it
day's
change?
on the
Which
left,
change?
the night's on the right.
From inside the town left, or as you're approaching the gate?
Town left. Yeah.
Okay. So left is day, right is night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna write a D. An N.
He's
Yeah.
nut. Sorry.
Got him. Oh yeah.
What about the other
Why?
two?
Magi. So Mitzi here is super forthcoming. They've captured a minion, and they threaten the minion. They pay the minion, and they listen to the minion. And the minion spills everything. The minion tells them where the warriors are. The minion tells them what's going on, what buildings have what loot. The minion offers up everything. Super useful to capture and interrogate. Absolutely love it. Really want to encourage this sort of behavior. Heavily rewarding, or showing off that this is an effective tactic, because we've seen and kind of hinted at in the past that in the Age of Heroes, great heroes attract minions. But these minions aren't necessarily like, they're not going to die for the hero, right? We've been making morale checks for these minions all the time. And so if the minions feel like shit's not going well, they're going to flee. And they'll follow great leaders, but like they could follow this leader, or they could follow that leader, or they could follow, like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who your leader is. And from this, we're taking a little bit of inspiration from ancient Rome, specifically the period after Gaius Marius makes his reforms. I was listening to the Fall of the Road, Dan Carlin Hardcore History podcast about the decline of the Roman Republic. And in it, one of the points that he makes is that one of the early points where the Roman Republic starts to fall apart is when they are running into military issues. where there are more wars that need more legionaries than Rome can handle, because there just aren't enough land. Because at this time, you have to be a landowning citizen to fight in the military, but like land is slowly being consolidated in fewer and fewer hands, and Rome is at the same time engaging in more and more wars, and so there's just, the armies are having shortages. And this guy, Gaius Marius, a great general, makes some reforms where he says, like, look, anybody can join the army. I will get you your money. I will get you your land, but join with me, and then we can go deal these things. And he's a great general, and you know, probably not supposed to do that, but like, he saves the day. And so Rome was like, cool, yes, we will pay you what Gaius said he was going to pay you. And it changes the tactics of the day, or the loyalties of the day, of instead of an army made up of citizens who are in theory loyal to the city, being slowly changing over to an army of people who get paid by their general, not by, like, the general might get money from the city, but really the general gets money from conquering lands and stealing their shit and then selling their people into slavery. And so your general is the guy who ends up paying you. And so you end up coming into a period where armies are loyal to their leaders rather than loyal to the city, which is sort of one of the things that helps the Roman Republic fall apart, because then you can have like other folks who, that you can have civil wars because the armies aren't made up of this, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. That's one of the inspirations for this sort of minion concept, where the minion is sort of loyal to this person, but also if that general like dies and another general comes and leads your army, like your loyalty sort of switches. The other place I get it from is Napoleon. There's a story about how after Napoleon is defeated and they send him back to Corsica, and he chills in Corsica for a little while, and then is like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna go back to France, I'm gonna go back in charge. And he like gets on a boat and sails back to France with just like a handful of people, and he's marching to the city, and like an army comes out to stop him and shoot him, and he's like, cool, shoot me then, bros, or join me. And the whole army like switches around and is like, no, we love the emperor, the king sucks, we want to join with you again. And Napoleon's like, cool, bros. And the entire army switches sides and joins with Napoleon. And so these contexts about how like the loyalty of the soldiers is not always 100% certain. There's even some instances in some of the later civil wars in Rome, when Julius Caesar is taking out Crassus, where Caesar is telling his soldiers to kill the allies of Crassus, but like try not to kill the Roman citizens who are fighting for Crassus. And there's moments where these Roman citizens sort of switch sides mid-battle, and they're like, oh, we were fighting with this guy, but let's literally just come on over here and like start building a fort with Caesar. And there's a whole bunch of like sneaky stuff going on in this period, not just with Caesar, but whole bunch of other people whose names I can't remember, but there's a lot of like legionaries switching sides and like deciding that this general's not great and moving on to this other one. I really like this concept of heroes and minions, and the minions can like be trusted to a certain extent, but also like they might flip, and also they're probably gonna flee, but also you could probably rally them again. And maybe you don't trust the minions with anything too important, but you might have like sub commanders who are more loyal to you and wouldn't switch sides, that you can trust with actual information and things. And I really I like the party trying to buy the loyalty of Mitzi, and I think it is a great opportunity in D&D. Well, what do you define as treasure? Because it's broken up in different warehouses. Slaves go here, gold goes there, armor goes here. There's a good inventory system. And I think that's more or less the end of the session, actually, is that they talk about what's going on here with Mitzi for a while. And they examine options, they think about night attacks, they think about scaling the walls, they ask Mitzi what it looks like at night. And they try and come up with a plan. like they were trying to come up with one before. And it's tough. They're having a really hard time deciding how they could possibly take this city. I've given them the stat blocks of the monsters because this is a hard fight. And because Julia is a straight up, she's the great, you know, on and so forth, grandmother of straight up Deal Dave, spiritually speaking, because she says, you want to go down this path of bloodshed and violence. This is the great place to do it. You'll get the most out of it, but there's going to be these hard things you have to fight. And here's all the information about the things you have to fight. Here's the stat block for the archers. Here's the stat block for the ogre magi. Here's the stat block for the hill giants. These are the things you have to fight. And now the party has to decide if they can do it or not. And it is a nail biter. You know, our party has pretty decent stats and HP. I mean, not amazing. Where is a page with our party on it? Yeah, not super mega ultra perfect. Ooh, especially Roy. He's got shit HP. They've got like 43 HP on Vasher, 37 on Cassian, 30 on Steermere. Their AC's kind of shit because they don't have any armor really. And the monsters that they're going to be fighting against are super tough. Let's just open up the archer stat block. The archer makes 2 attacks with this longbow, +6 to hit, d6 +4 on the damage. I'm sorry, d8 +4 on the damage. So 2 attacks per round, +6 to hit. That's going to hit, you know, 1.5 times. 8 damage on average. So 1.5 times 8 is 12. This is about 12 damage per round from an archer. It also has an archer eye ability to, you know, add an extra d10 to the damage or hit. So, you know, let's call it 15, maybe 16 damage per average on a round. That'll kill Roy in 1 round. That'll drop Vasher in... Well, Vasher probably got a little more AC. Vasher's got, what, 43 HP divided by 16. That's 3 rounds to drop Vasher. Cassian is 37 divided by 16. 2.5, 3 rounds to drop him. Steermere could probably be dropped in 2 rounds. So 1 archer by itself actually kind of maybe wouldn't kill the party, but if the archer gets multiple rounds to fire at the party, probably pretty dangerous. If there's 2 archers, that's actually pretty that could be a serious threat. The hill giants get 2 great club attacks at +8 to hit and 3d8 +5 to damage, which is about 18 damage on average, but with a pretty big swing in there. So that's, you know, 2 hits to KO Steermere, 2 hits to KO Cassian, 3 hits to KO. It's a nasty attack as well. And the hill giants have a shit ton of HP. They got like 105 hit points. So they might be hard to bring down. The archers have 75 HP, still a lot, but have pretty good AC. These would be really... This is the sort of fight where you would need to take your enemies quickly and in pieces. You would want to focus down one, then focus down the other, and then focus down the next one, or you'd want a way to like CC one down and then CC the next down. You'd need some sort of tools to really work it. And I think the party's a little concerned. Now, one thing that never comes up in the planning of this battle is the availability of potions. It never really gets asked. I think it vaguely gets mentioned that in this warehouse right here the weapons are held and some potions are held there too. I think it gets brought up. I can't actually remember right now. And one of the routes that is possible here is that, you know, they kill everyone at the front gate. They run over here. They loot this place, probably some guards, but wipe them pretty easily. Grab the potions, refill any missing HP, then take the 2 giants down by the port, and then you've taken out all of the important people, and it's just the 1 remaining Ogre Magi. And that's actually a legitimately hard thing. Even if it was just the Ogre Magi, it'd be problematic. And especially if you kill everyone at the gates and then kill everyone at the docks, like, the guard will probably have been alerted at that point. Someone in town will have alerted somebody in charge, and the Ogre Magi is going to be a bit of a problem. I don't think it's insurmountable. Player characters often come up with surprising plans. They might have an answer. You know, maybe the answer is camp out in the armory. You've killed the giants. You've killed the archers. Hopefully there's food in the armory. There probably is. You know, maybe you just camp the armory and wait for the Ogre Magi to come to you, or wait for the Ogre Magi's troops to assault your armory, and then you like hack the troops to bits. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe the party has a sneaky way of getting past the Ogre Magi. Maybe they can do like a distraction and send someone around, or maybe they can pull some sort of ruse to get the Ogre Magi to reveal itself in like pretext of a conversation. I don't know. The Ogre Magi's one scary thing is Cone of Cold, which is I think 8d8 damage. 8 times 4.5 is 36 damage. But I think there's a save for half. Either way, I mean, it would kill Roy outright. Half as much damage on a failed save. Yeah, so 36 damage, pretty scary. You pass the save. What's the DC on her saves? 13, and it's a con save? Or 13, a DC 13 con save, or take about 36 damage. Well, let's take a look at Cassian. Cassian has +5 on his con save, so all he needs is an 8 to pass. Steermere has +2 on his con save, so he needs an 11. Not great chances. Basher needs an 11 as well. And Roy, well, even if Roy passes, it's still like 18 damage, and he would be knocked unconscious, probably not dead. He's got +0. So if Roy gets hit with the Cone of Cold, he's pretty much fucked. I think that just means you find a way to keep Roy well away from windows, doors, or you find a way to sneak up on the ogre. Anyway, the point is, it's a difficult potential battle up ahead. And the party recognizes its fears and danger. Wow, that's actually a really good Cone of Cold. That's really good. The party recognizes the danger and feels apprehensive about going into it. Maybe they learned from the last campaign and they're not willing to take any risk, to take just any old risk, that is to say. And we end up not doing anything with the rest of the session. The rest of the session is just planning, and the party's getting a little tired, and no one's really getting anywhere, and so we call it a little early, and we end our session here. And next week, we pick up in the same spot after having reviewed all of the fan-laid information in the Reddit threads, and we will see what happens next time on Director's Commentary for the Lazarus Expedition. This was sort of a slow episode. There was a lot of the party talking about this battle, and there's not really much for me to tell you about it. I've been asked a whole lot of times what I thought their chances were, and I have no idea how to express that. I think they could probably have done it. I don't know how, but like, player characters always surprise you. There have been plenty of battles where you think the party is going to wipe and they easily defeat the enemy. And there's been plenty of battles where you think the party is going to mop up without any problems and the dice rolls just don't favor them and the enemy destroys them. So the giants, not a problem. The archers, not a problem. The Ogre Magi, a bit of a problem. The one thing I will say, spoilers for the next episode of Director's Commentary, they don't attack the city. They decide to go back. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the potential assault. If they had come during the night, the hill giant guarding the gate would have been asleep. There's 3 giants in the town. 2 work at the dock. 1 works at the gates. They have to sleep. They're not awake 24/7. So if you can get behind the gate before the giant wakes up, maybe you could kill it. Or at least, you'd have an extra round while the giant wakes up. Or maybe you can attack it while it's prone before it gets up and you can get advantage on the attack. Or who knows what. But that's a bit of an advantage. At night, it might be hard to organize or coordinate, but you got some advantages there. The other thing is you could just show up during the day, knock on the gate, and they would probably open the gate to see you and your cart and the stuff that you have. And then you don't have to worry about the wall because the gates are open as you bring your cart in and they're like, who the fuck are you? Let's see what's in your cart. And then you're like, huzzah! And then you attack. But I know some of the party members here are a little bit like, I don't want to take them by surprise, even though we're also considering a night attack. But you open the gate and then you're right there and you can maybe gang up on the giant right away and bring the giant down. Or you can see where the archer's hanging out. If you come during the daytime and the day archer is, on the wall, and then Roy can be like right next to the wall. So the archer might have to like awkwardly shoot downward at Roy, keeping Roy sort of safe, and the rest of the party can buffer the front gate. And so the giant can't get to Roy. As long as Roy is safe, the party could manage the giant pretty quickly. And these random minions here could easily be taken out by one of Steermir's AoE blasts and wipe them pretty fast. There were some options here, and I think they could do it. I think the Ogre Magi would be difficult. If they had gone up the mountain, there would have been giant spiders. Lots of them. I had a nice battle map all made out, which took me a while to make, and it's one of the many, many, many time sinks I have put into this campaign that have never come to fruition. We even made a sword spider stat block who has, well, it's not that scary. He's not that scary. I mean, it's +5 to hit, 2d6 +3 on a damage, and poison bites, but it's fine. But it would have been a lot of spiders. The mountains here, the cliffs here are sort of curved and then straight. They're not sheer. So rappelling down them, like you could come down the curved side, but also like you're probably going to kick off small rocks. You're going to make some noise. Rappelling down a mountain is sort of a visible thing. Maybe if you wait until a night where like the clouds are dark and there's not a lot of visibility, you might be able to rappel most of the way down the mountain without being seen. You do it during the day, you're definitely going to get seen. Doing it at night, I don't know. We would have had to play it out. So that's it for this week's director's commentary then. We will do the next session, episode 9, maybe tomorrow. It depends on the scheduling stuff. That's it for the Lazarus Expedition, episode 8 commentary. We'll be back soonish, another day, with the director's commentary for episode 9. If you like these director's commentary VODs and you would like to catch all of them, you should join my Patreon, patreon.com/Koibu. There you can find all of the VODs for all the director's commentary for all of the episodes and watch them there. They will eventually become publicly released, but that's, a little bit down the line. So check them out there, and I'll catch you guys next time.